Welcome, Inquisitive Souls. I'm your host, Cyan, and you're listening to the Age of Alchemy podcast. Episode 5 is called The Circles. God is an infinite circle, whose center is everywhere, and whose circumference is nowhere. Nicholas of Cusa. Circles, with their seamless curves and boundless symmetry, hold a profound place in the fabric of our understanding and interpretation of the universe. This simple shape, devoid of start or end, serves as a fundamental emblem in countless symbols, a core element of geometric exploration, and even a metaphor for the eternal and infinite. In the realm of geometry, the circle challenges and inspires. The quest to square the circle is an endeavor steeped with the lore of ancient mathematics, representing an attempt to create a square with precisely the same area as a circle, employing nothing but a compass and a straight edge, constrained with limited series of moves. This challenge, while seemingly a geometric puzzle, unfurls into a profound allegory for the human yearning to solve the inscrutable, to find unity in disparity. It lays out an intricate dance between the known and the unknowable, encouraging contemplation on our place within the cosmos. In its essence, squaring the circle becomes a symbol for the eternal struggle to align with the tangible and the ethereal, an invitation to marvel at the pursuit of ideals just beyond the grasp of possibility. Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man is an epic analysis of this puzzle, and still dazzles the artist and scholar of today. Its irrationality is proof that perfection is not to be acquired, but an aspiration within the cycle, continuous of growth, learning and unlearning, challenging and piecing together details of a carefully structured reality while accepting that there will always be more questions to be answered. As I speak of piecing mysteries together, which is the intent for this podcast, by the way, the mysterious creation of crop circles, some being the work of human hands, but most are arcane and inexplicable. This mirrors the ancient challenge of squaring the circle, as both phenomena provoke a contemplation of the beyond. Just as squaring the circle symbolizes the quest to reconcile mathematic perfection with the limitations of human capability, crop circles might just contain some of the answers we've always been searching for. A cryptic yet inviting convergence of science, art, and mystery, found mostly in the UK, and sightings of these massive symbols dating back to records in the 1600s. We find that the legitimacy versus a few instances of pranks are incredibly different in timing, locations, and mathematical precision. Although otherworldly, these sightings reinforce our interest in cycles of birth and death, opportunities to grow, and even spirals. On a microscopic level, many of our cells exhibit circular forms, from the spherical architecture of red blood cells to the circular DNA plasmids in bacteria, showcasing efficiency and imperfect perfections in nature's design. This harmony is echoed in the grand scale of historical calendars, such as the circular arrangement of Stonehenge megaliths or the intricate circular designs of the Mayan and Aztec calendars, which not only tracked the passage of time but also aligned the human experience with the celestial and cyclical rhythms of the universe. In addition, our planets, stars, solar systems, and their motions. We also see circular patterns in cymatics, a phenomena of waveforms that are observable from sound. Is the circle the origin of reality? Could it be the shape of the highest of the Most High? The endeavor for understanding the circle and its integration into space-time is a formula that I am not too sure has a solution. The flower and its reoccurrence in cultures throughout the centuries all over the world can speak to the fundamental question our oldest ancestors have been asking. Who are we? As enigmatic as the circle is, it may just very well be the ultimate representation of identity itself. That we are not defined by a 90-degree angle or straight line for that matter. Identity is forever curving. There is something about crop circles that ignite curiosity we can all feel in our bones. Or maybe I'm just speaking for myself. The kind of curiosity that slightly scares us. I can tell you that I am not an expert on these occurrences in crop fields, but I sure as hell am interested in who made them and what they mean. Here are just some facts that get the wheels turning. Location. Crop circles are mostly found around the United Kingdom, particularly in the southern parts of Wiltshire, Hampshire, and Sussex. These areas are known for their proximity to ancient sites like Stonehenge and Avebury, which adds to the mystique around crop circles. While the UK is the hotspot, crop circles have been reported worldwide, including in the United States, Canada, Australia, and other European countries. But for the most part, crop circles love finding themselves in the UK. When did it start? It's hard to say because of how much history is not accounted for due to either documentation being lost, hidden, or not recorded to begin with. However, the earliest documented reports of crop circles date back to the 17th century, with one of the most notable early references being the mowing devil case in 1678 located in Hertfordshire, England. This case involves a pamphlet that described a farmer who found a circular pattern cut into his field overnight. The pamphlet included an illustration of the devil cutting the crop in a circular fashion, which some of course can interpret as an early account of a crop circle. This account is debated to have been what some believe to be a disgruntled mower who was owed money, but given the location being close to many of the crop circles that we find today, it makes one question if it was indeed created by something non-human. And really, we're going based off an illustration, and no offense to the artist who made the artwork in that pamphlet, but we really don't know what it looked like at the end of the day. Systemic recordings and widespread public interest in crop circles did not begin until the late 20th century. The phenomena gained significance around the 1970s and 1980s when more complex and numerous formations started appearing again, primarily in England. Now, some might say that these locations are significant to ley lines geographically, but I would probably save that for another podcast episode, and it's definitely worth looking into ley lines if you've never heard of them before. Something that is also theoretical, but I think has a lot of mystique around it. Whether the mowing devil was legit another life form communicating or toying with us back in the 1600s, I'm more interested in the recent ones we find and continue to find that puzzle even the most materialist reductionist scientists. For instance, we're all relatively familiar with pie, not the kind you eat, although delicious in its many varieties, but I'm talking about pie, the formula that continues on forever. There was an appearance of a crop circle back in 2008 that attracted significant attention due to its complexity and encoding of the value of pi within its design. You should definitely look that one up, it's incredible. The formation consisted of concentric circles with pathways extending from the center, and the layout of these pathways discovered to represent the first 10 digits of pi, 3.141592,654, in a radial pattern. This crop circle was found near Barbary Castle, an Iron Age hill fort located in Wiltshire, England. Again, I recommend looking up this design because whoever created this, it was simply breathtaking. This particular sighting is undoubtedly one of the most fascinating to me due to pi's irrationality. Digging into the phenomena is birthing a newfound love for mathematics. As I have mentioned before in my podcast, I was horrible at math, and I failed those classes in school. But looking at mathematics with a mystical lens was enough to spark some curiosity in its formulas and, dare I say, message. So without making this podcast purely about crop circles, it is about circles in general and what the shape itself can represent in different ways. This will segue into the fascination that we've had with pi and its rationality. How does it correspond with the significance of the circle? Pi is an irrational number, as I stated, meaning it cannot be expressed as a fraction of two integers. Its decimal representation goes on forever without repeating, a fact that has puzzled mathematicians for centuries. This property challenges our current understanding of numbers and their behaviors. At its core, pi is defined as the ratio of the circumference of the circle to its diameter. This is a simple yet profound relationship because it directly ties pi to the geometry of every circle regardless of size. This means that for any circle, dividing its circumference by its diameter will yield pi, illustrating a universal constant that applies to all circles. In other words, this underscores the relevance of infinity, represented and embodied in the circle. In summary, the circle is not just the best representation of pi, but also its natural and most intuitive one, capturing the essence of pi's mathematical, physical, and philosophical significance. This is why pi continues to captivate the imagination of scientists and mathematicians. It embodies the spirit of exploration and the endless quest for understanding mysteries around our world. At a slightly different angle of observation, the circle turns itself into a spiral. And we also see just how continuous the ether of intelligence wants to take us. The spiral extends these concepts into the realm of growth and change. Spirals can be thought of as circles that have been set into motion, expanding outward or inward. This dynamic form is evident in many natural phenomena, from the shells of snails to the galaxies of the cosmos, again indicating the universal pattern of growth and evolution. This observation is more commonly known as the Fibonacci sequence or the golden ratio. The sequence is a series of numbers where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones, often starting with 0. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so on. The micro and macrocosm is displayed upon reflection and observation of the natural world. And yes, there have been many crop circles found with the Fibonacci sequence embedded into its design. But this sequence, one that is descending and ascending all at once, like a slur played back and forth on a violin, is poetry. I would like to share a poem that I hope encapsulates the internalization within the spiraling of the circle. This poem is called Ground Zero. I am moving, changing. But am I really here? The cello begins, slowly, softly. Something at the base of my spine knows. My eyes no longer closed. Looking out the window, the birds take flight. A higher note begins from the right. The viola arrives, a faster tempo plucking away faults in my vertebrae. I am static, shifting. But am I really here? The violin reaches out to me, my left arm extends and my palm opens. My nervous system activated. I command it to continue. The strings begin to dance, sounding off a siren from the depths of the deep. The violin multiplies. The bow of the viola is in motion, speeding up as if chasing a rapid in unison with the harp and trumpet. Vertebrae 5 is awake. Make no mistake, the birds are back above me in a circle, ascending my right arm towards the east. But am I really here? A dance of melodies swirl in opposition, pushing my spinal fluid upward and beyond. 10,000 drums surround my heart, beating so fast. What sense is this? I am soon to be death. Nothing but cello lowering and lowering downward. I am nowhere. A concerto of zero. Darkness. I am one. I am everywhere. This episode, The Circles, is something that I have wrestled with over the past 2 weeks. I often felt compelled to change the subject entirely and not publish this, going against my own gut telling me to simply place the circle on the table and let whoever feels compelled to grab hold and observe its curvature. The irony being, this life and death of today's episode that had to occur a few times before I took the step in posting it is the circle itself. I can't tell you that I understand what this circle is or represents, but who truly can comprehend the magnitude of this importance and its message of infinity? I can say, however, that I am enveloped in its mystique and wish nothing more than to marvel in its continuous nature. Something about the cycle of life and death is scary, specifically the death part, but there is no need to ignore the rebirth nature of everything we see tangibly in our world. There's a famous painting and many more that encapsulate this dilemma, and it is called The Cycle of Life and Death. I recommend looking it up. I can't pronounce the name of the artist, I wish I could. I don't want to ruin it, but look up the painting. It's called The Cycle of Life and Death, showing us something the circle does. We may not know why or how, but we know that the circle folds. The infinity symbol, eerily similar to that of a cell multiplying, being that nature continues on, always and always. This makes me wonder, since pi is irrational and continues on forever, so then can it mean that the divine of this universe is the ultimate creative, the ultimate quest to figuring it out, so to speak? That we, although a speck, a piece to the puzzle, have by no mistake inherited the very most powerful gene of all, creativity. And The speed in which we use that creativity for understanding should not be the sole objective, but rather, the creative act is the conversion of atoms into the material world, and the act itself of squaring the circle is indeed the greatest gift of the universe. The God we wonder about is indeed everywhere and nowhere, as Nicholas of Cusa said, and Joseph Campbell talks about. The God we wonder about has planted a gift within us, equivalent to a reset button. Thank you so much for listening. As I said before, I went in circles creating this episode, pun intended. I suppose there was a level of self-doubt because I am not a polymath, mystic, guru, or scientist. And I have, to some extent, convinced myself that I do not deserve to speak about such things unless I am an achieved academic. So every now and again, I must remind myself and you who are listening that there isn't an accolade or person on this planet that has the ability to grant you permission to philosophize about the nature of reality and who you fucking are. There isn't an author, mathematician, or professor who did not ponder about such phenomena before their credibility was received. Who was Plato before he was a philosopher? Who was J.K. Rowling before she was an author? They were people, just like you, and they were already the philosopher and the writer. So keep writing, my friend. Keep gazing upon the celestial bodies, keep painting, learning that new language, keep philosophizing, learning and expressing your deepest passions to the world, because you already are who you're trying to be. The position that you want in this universe was already granted to you by God. Stay tuned for episode 6, called The Inner Child. I love you all. God bless.